Most people think their life is being created by their thoughts, but the nervous system is making decisions long before conscious thought ever arrives. Your body is constantly asking one question: does this feel familiar? Not, is this healthy? Not, is this good for me? And definitely not, will this create the future that I really want? Only, have I survived this before in the past? Once you understand this, you have the opportunity to change it. Because the nervous system does not prioritize your happiness first. It prioritizes predictability. That's why people unconsciously recreate emotional environments that hurt them in the past, simply because those environments feel familiar to the body. That's why someone can say they want peace while continuously choosing chaos. Why someone can say they want love while being drawn towards emotionally unavailable people. Why someone says they want change while repeating the same emotional patterns that keep them trapped. Because the body memorized survival before the mind ever created identity. People are trying to change their life without realizing their nervous system is simultaneously trying to recreate the emotional conditions it learned to survive inside. Once you see this, you can start recognizing it everywhere. You were regulating emotionally long before you understood language, before beliefs, before philosophy, before goals. As an infant, your nervous system was learning tone, tension, stress, safety, conflict, silence, rejection, approval, unpredictability. The body was recording everything because your brain is constantly collecting evidence. It's a prediction machine. People think the brain exists primarily to think, but biologically, its primary job is survival, which means your nervous system is continuously scanning for patterns. What happened before? What hurt me before? What protected me before? What emotional environment did I survive inside? And once the brain records enough repetition, it begins predicting reality automatically. That's why the mind can react before the conscious thought even arrives. Prediction is faster than analysis. The nervous system doesn't pause calmly for philosophical reflection. It prepares immediately. And this is where people become trapped without realizing it. Because if chaos was repeated long enough, the brain begins treating chaos as familiar. Not healthy, not good, just recognizable. And recognizable chaos feels safer to the nervous system than unfamiliar peace. The brain is not asking, will this make me happy? It's asking, have I survived this before? And if the answer is yes, the nervous system wants to repeat it. The nervous system does not experience reality objectively. It experiences reality through prediction. It continuously scans, what environment am I in? What emotional state should I prepare for? What usually happens next? This is why people can walk into a harmless conversation and immediately feel defensive, or feel rejected when rejection hasn't even happened, or feel anxiety before anything is actually wrong. The nervous system is not responding only to the present moment. It's responding to patterns that it's memorized from the past. That's why two people can experience the same exact event and have completely different emotional reactions, because perception is filtered through previous conditioning. And when people don't understand this, they start attacking themselves psychologically. I'm broken. Why do I keep doing this? Why can't I change? But the nervous system is simply repeating what became familiar, because repetition became survival, and survival patterns become automatic over time. That's why awareness alone rarely changes behavior, because logic speaks to the mind, but survival patterns live in the body. That's why someone can intellectually know a relationship is unhealthy and still feel pulled toward it. The body recognizes the emotional atmosphere, and it can feel like chemistry when it's actually just conditioning. Most people think reality is something happening to them, but your nervous system influences what you notice, what you expect, what you tolerate, what you avoid, what feels safe and what feels threatening, which means your internal state affects the reality you continuously experience. If your nervous system memorizes unpredictability, calm can feel uncomfortable. People unconsciously create problems just to restore emotional familiarity. That's why some people sabotage peace the moment they finally get it. Silence feels suspicious. Healthy love feels boring. Stability feels unsafe. Because the body became accustomed to intensity, and intensity is not the same thing as aliveness. People are not addicted to pain, they're addicted to familiarity. And there's a huge difference. Your mind is like a pattern-seeking missile. It searches continuously for familiar emotional signatures, not because it hates you, but because the brain prefers known patterns over unknown outcomes. Even terrible patterns are preferred because from your nervous system's perspective, familiar suffering is easier to manage than unpredictable change. And once those patterns become deeply rehearsed, the brain starts creating shortcuts, automatic reactions, automatic assumptions, automatic emotional states. Eventually, people stop experiencing life clearly. They begin experiencing life through expectation filters built from previous emotional conditioning. People often try to change themselves through force, but transformation does not happen through punishment. You do not retrain the nervous system through thinking harder. You retrain it through experience, through repetition, through embodied evidence. Because the mind may consciously say, I want peace, but if the body has rehearsed for stress for 20 years, the nervous system will continue predicting stress automatically. So the body must repeatedly experience something different for the prediction system to change. That's why conscious training matters, not once, but repeatedly. You must repeatedly show the nervous system, this is how we handle stress now. This is how we breathe now. This is how we pause now. This is how we move now. This is how we are going to respond now. And eventually, the body stops expecting the old reality. That's when transformation becomes stable instead of temporary. Awareness alone is not enough. Awareness simply recognizes the pattern. Then attention interrupts feeding the pattern, and intention consciously installs a new response. That's the retraining. And it begins with small moments. The moment between trigger and action. That's the doorway. Not perfection, not instant healing, but recognition. Tiny shifts matter. Breathing before reacting, pausing before texting, observing emotional patterns without immediately obeying them, allowing silence without filling it, resting without guilt, speaking calmly instead of escalating, taking a walk instead of spiraling. These moments look small externally, but internally, you're teaching the body a completely new prediction pattern. You're showing the nervous system not every feeling requires the old reaction. And eventually, the body stops predicting that same emotional pattern reality. Awareness alone is not enough. Awareness simply recognizes the pattern. Then attention interrupts feeding the pattern, and intention consciously installs a new response. That's the retraining. And it begins with small moments. The moment between trigger and action. That's the doorway. Not perfection, not instant healing, but recognition. Tiny shifts matter. Breathing before reacting, pausing before texting, observing emotional patterns without immediately obeying them, allowing silence without filling it, resting without guilt, speaking calmly instead of escalating, taking a walk instead of spiraling. These moments look small externally, but internally, you're teaching the body a completely new prediction pattern. You're showing the nervous system not every feeling requires the old reaction. And eventually, the body stops predicting that same emotional pattern reality. That's when people begin feeling true change. Your world will not change overnight, but over time, your internal prediction system changes. And once the nervous system no longer expects chaos, you stop consciously building your life around it. That's where real freedom begins. Not when life becomes perfect, but when the body no longer needs suffering to feel familiar. because identity is often not consciously chosen. It's repeated nervous system experience, repeated emotions, repeated reactions, repeated environments, repeated survival patterns, which means many people are not living from conscious identity. They're living from memorized emotional repetition. Once you understand this, everything changes. You're not fighting your mind, you're retraining prediction. And the nervous system learns peace through repetition, the exact same way it learned fear in the first place. And when that changes, your entire world can change too.